Hi everyone, it's Asli here. In this video, I will show you how I created an all-inclusive operations manual for my business. Let's get started. So I have a lead generation business. I co-own the company with my partner. And when we first started, for both me and my partner, it was our first small business experience, at least to that scale. We both had some small ventures before here and there, but to that scale, it was the first. And the company grew very quickly. We got our first client in 20 days, then the second in 1.5 months, I guess, then the third and fourth. So in 3 months, we came to a point that we needed to hire a third person who will be basically the number 3 in the company. And at that point, we noticed that we had been doing most of the things in our day-to-day operations without any systems. There was no written guidelines, no checklist, nothing to follow. I think we had only one checklist. It was our building. It was for building our landing pages, but that was it. And it was okay because we were at the beginning of our journey. The company was new, and I think it didn't bother us much because my business partner is also my fiance, so we live together and we work together in the same room. So we were able to talk and show how we do things to each other during the days. But when we hired our first employee, before we hired him actually from overseas, we agreed that we definitely need documentation. So I had to take a couple of days off to document everything, build systems, create guidelines, how-to guides, and so on. And my background is in law and project management. I was a corporate lawyer for 5 years and became a project manager in Canada. So it was easy for me to build the systems and document what's needed. So the first guy we hired, his time zone was different. He was, I guess, 7 or 8 hours ahead of us. But even if we were all awake at the same time, it was just not efficient for us to answer his questions all the time or open a Zoom call or a Slack call to explain how to do things to him. It was just not being productive, and we wanted to be efficient not only for us, but to give him a good job experience as well. So considering all of these, I basically created the version 0 of this manual that I'm going to show you right now. And I'm saying version 0 because the first version was just an Excel spreadsheet, a simple tracking document. It had different tabs, a lot of hyperlinks to some other documents where we keep other stuff. And it had passwords, usernames, some client info, roadmaps, some rules and principles to adhere to, and so on. And then it evolved into a PDF. Then we upgraded it to a basic Notion database. And after many iterations and improvements, we now have this manual that I will show you. And since then, we've been using this for our lead generation business. We also started some other ventures. And now whenever we start something new, we are just duplicating this standard one and we customize and tailor it to our new business. So without further ado, let me show it to you. And by the way, I'm not going to show you the one that we've customized to our business because I've realized that it includes so many private and confidential information, especially about our clients, because we basically run our business through that manual now. I will show you the one that is a standard template that we are selling online for our small businesses, and it is called Small Business Operations Manual. And it includes all the standard operating procedures and best practices, as we call them, that a small business needs. And now there is a 20% limited time discount on it. So if you want to buy, this is a good time to do it. And this is how it looks like. It starts with this view. On the left-hand side, we have an image, a quote from Peter Drucker, actually, which I love this quote. It says, whenever you see a successful business, someone once made a courageous decision, which is super accurate. And we have 2 widgets. The first one is the progress widget, and it shows how much of the current year, the month, the week, the day, and the quarter passed. And the last one is the countdown widget, and it shows how much we have left from the current year. And the importance of these 2 widgets are, as a business owner, we all have our monthly targets, quarterly targets, and yearly targets. And for instance, seeing the 82% of the quarter or the past, and let's assume that I'm in, I've reached only the 50% of my quarterly target, is actually giving me motivation and pushing me to do more, make more sales, and increase my revenue. And it's same for the year-end countdown as well. And on the right-hand side, we have the manual, and we call this a manual, and this is our entire system actually. And remember, this is not our business's operations manual. This is the one that we are selling online actually as a standard, all-in-one template. Because I'm gonna show you the inside of each of these 13 sections, and you will notice that like our operations manual, of course, includes so many private and confidential information. So that is the manual. And then before I go into each of these sections, I just want to show you the rest of the manual. The second section is the weekly to-dos. And this is where we put our events, reminders, and to-dos that all of the team should know or should keep in mind. This manual, all of your team members will be seeing this. So this is not to dump all the to-dos of each and every single team member here, because for that we are using our project management software, right? Either Trello or Notion, Kanban board, etc. But if there is something that you want the entire team to know, such as like team meeting, 9 a.m. Every Monday we do a team meeting at 9. Every Thursday, or maybe this week Thursday, we have a social media team meeting that you want the team to know. So we put those kind of things here. And then the last section is the monthly calendar section. Again, this is not as a business owner, your calendar or any team member's calendar. This is the calendar that includes things that is relevant for everyone in the team. Okay, let's go back to the manual, and I'm gonna go inside of each of these sections. But before that, I told you that this is building systems, right? And let me tell you why building systems is actually critical in a business. The first reason is systems create consistency. Because when your employees, and even when you don't have systems to work with, your employees tend to do things differently each time, which gets us inconsistent results and an inconsistent experience for your customers. And this is very important because consistency is the number one key thing to ensure you keep your customers with you. If you give them an inconsistent experience every time they visit your shop, for instance, or every month you contact them for any reason, you lose your reliability and also credibility in their eyes. And it's even same for you. When you don't have a guideline to adhere to, you do things differently from time to time as well. And if not differently, we forget how we do or did certain things, and so doing the same thing takes us longer. So it affects our efficiency and productivity in the business. So that's the first reason. The second reason is systems make it easier to delegate to other people. Because often we delegate something, we tell someone what to do, but they forget how to do it, or they may not do it in the right way. But written systems make it clear on what is the way in which you want things to be done. And if they forget, they can come back to the written documentation, this manual, and voila, they can refresh their learnings. So back to the manual itself. When we first created actually this was just a PDF, and it didn't have this many sections such as introduction, history, emergency procedures, and so on. But after a couple of iterations, and I was checking online, how to create a proper operations manual for a business, and almost all of the articles were saying or suggesting a similar outline, which is the introduction, history, and then culture and values, and so on and so forth. And then I've written down everything, created a full-fledged system. But then, as I said, we integrated it into our Notion and created this manual. So let's start it with the introduction. Let me show you inside. So here we basically say, and since this is a standard template that we are selling online, there are tips, or as we call call-outs on Notion for each and every section, so that as a business owner, when you buy this, you will understand what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to write for this section. So under introduction, basically we just introduces the purpose of this manual, what information is included, and what you can expect from using it. And then the history section. And the reason why we include the business's history in operations manuals is because, first of all, keep in mind that whenever you hire a new employee, you will be sharing this manual and requiring them to read the entire manual. And including the Our History section in the manual is that allows you to not repeat the history of your business every single time when you hire an employee. And that other reason is knowing your business history actually creates a sense of ownership in your employees, which is a good thing because you want the commitment from them as well. Whoever buys this manual, writes down their own history. The next section is the culture and values. And I learned the importance of creating strong culture in a company because before a business owner, I was an employee actually. And I worked in some places where there was a strong company culture and everyone was motivated and happy. But I also worked in some places where there was nothing concrete or even good in terms of a culture, and there was no team engagement, no motivation, and so on. So that's why when we started growing and hiring people into our company, my aim was to create a holistic culture where everyone does certain things in harmony. And that's where this part comes in. And the reason or the key benefit of having values in your company is that values give people guiding principles to make their own choices when things are not clearly described in the business systems. Because you cannot explain everything or address every little scenario in your manual. It's just impossible. And if you've been in business long enough, you know that shit happens, life happens, emergency happens all the time. So when there is no clear answer in the systems, which is the manual, your employees can use these values as a foundation and then make their judgment accordingly. So let me give you some examples from the culture that we have in the standard manual. For instance, we are go-getters. It's very basic, and when you go into each of these, by the way, you see a little bit of a description as well. We are people of action. We work tirelessly until the job is done on time, exactly as promised. So this is one thing that we had as a team embraced in terms of our culture and values. So I really like that one. The other one is, for instance, we give back. This is one of our values, and here we have a little bit of an explanation for the buyers of this manual. But basically, what we say is we donate, X% of our revenue or profit if these following conditions are met. So these are just examples that, as I said, we included in our standard manual that we are selling. But every business owner or every business is required to, create and compile their own culture and values here. The next section is the organization chart, and we have a long description here. And it basically says the most important thing when you are creating your organization chart is to make sure that it is organized around the roles and responsibilities, aka positions, rather than persons or personalities. And the reason for this is because, well, when you create your organization chart based on the people that you have in your team, is that they are temporary because people leave companies and they take their personalities with them. But if your organization chart is based on job responsibilities, when any employee leaves your company, the knowledge and responsibilities associated with their roles remain within the company. And it makes it easier to fill vacancies and maintain the continuity. We had done this mistake when we first started our company and started hiring people, actually. And we had created our first organization chart based on the specific people's strengths and personal knowledge. But after we learned this principle, we started to build our organization chart based on the roles and responsibilities only. So now, for instance, we are not giving, let's say, a social media task to an operations manager just because she's good at social media. No, everyone has their own role and responsibilities that come from their position, and there is no messy task allocation based on personal strengths anymore. If you're a social media manager in our company, then you're responsible for, coming up the best social media strategy or graphic design, period. The next section is the job description sections, and having clear job descriptions is essential for everyone to understand the roles and the responsibilities that come with their title. So it increases actually the accountability within your team, because if everyone knows what they are accountable for, it leads to a more organized workflow. And the opposite of this is everybody is doing everything, right? But then who is accountable for anything? And when you think of it, no one likes working in a company where they have 100%, operating discretion. To some extent, having an operating discretion is, of course, it's good, because then you're not being micromanaged. But 100% authority means there is no guidelines, nothing concrete, nothing structural. And as a worker, you need to make a decision of everything from small to big, every single minute of the day. And that creates decision fatigue. If you start working at 9 a.m., for instance, I can almost guarantee you by the time the clock hits 2 p.m., you're done. You're having a decision fatigue and you can't make a decision anymore. So that's why having clear job descriptions and everyone knows what they are supposed to do is really critical in the business. And we have 4 different examples here. For instance, let's check the marketing manager. First of all, we have a clear structure here, which includes job title, job purpose, reports to person, job roles and responsibilities, qualifications, and performance evaluation. And for marketing manager, for instance, they would know that their job purpose is to create a strong brand identity for the business and driving sales through effective marketing strategies. They report to the general manager of the business. Their job roles and responsibilities includes all of these. The qualifications that you are looking for when you're hiring a marketing manager is all of these, and the performance evaluation. So this structure is really important when you're hiring any role actually in your company. And when it comes to the job descriptions, we have, as I said, 4 different roles as an example, and for the new ones that you're going to create for your company, we have the structure here. So the next one is our website, social media, and software section. And as you can see, this actually gives an overview of our online presence. And we also document our strategies around how we update our social media and website as well under these sections. So let's look at social media channels, for instance. We have Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook as an example here. And when you go into each of them, you will see that there's an example strategy around how often you should post on Instagram and who should be responsible for posting, who should be responsible for replying to comments or negative reviews, etc. for each of these. And then we have the second part here, which is social media management principles, or as we call SMM principles. And it gives, we have 2 examples here. For instance, in relation to negative comments and reviews, what is our strategy? Like, how are we replying to these or addressing these comments? And how often we do social media meetings, or do we even do social media meetings, and what's the purpose of it, who are the participants, etc. And the next one under this section is the website and the software tools. Again, you create your own strategy around how you keep your website up to date and how often you check their analytics, the statistics that come with your website. And under the software tools section, we list down all the software we use as a business. And most of those software actually needs to be accessed by our team members as well. So we post our username and password, or in general login details for each of those software tools here, so that whenever a team member needs to access one of those tools, they come and check the login details here without asking us. So the next section is which is the number 7, business systems and processes. And this section, I'm going to actually make this a full page view. So this section has the most content in it actually, because it literally has all of the systems and processes that you have in your business, and it includes the work instructions, the rules, the policies, the operational guidelines, best practices, everything in relation to your business systems. So, and we divided this section into two different subsections. The first one is employee relations, and the second one is customer relations. And as this name suggests, the first one includes all the policies and instructions that are in relation to your employees or how you manage your employees. And the second section is in relation to how you do the customer management. For instance, in relation to employee relations, we have the employee onboarding procedure here, the trial period rules, one-on-one meetings, communications management or communications rules, dress code, the paychecks, tips, scheduling rules, no call, no show policy, growth opportunities for your employees, the grounds for dismissal, and employee departure. And under the customer relations, we have the cash handling, how to greet and engage with your customers, some peak times rules, how to handle the incoming calls, how to handle complaints, frequent customer inquiries, and cleaning and maintenance, for instance, if you have a store, shop, or a physical warehouse, so on and so forth. So I'm going to actually go into some of these to show you, what we have inside. For instance, growth opportunities for employees. And this is good to, include in your manual and make it accessible and visible for all of your employees, because then this section, knowing that they can utilize some of these under this growth opportunities to, grow themselves personally and professionally, motivates them and makes them more engaged in your business or in your company. So we have the company library, and we actually have this in our operations manual as well. And under the company library, we include some books and other resources such as videos and articles that we recommend our employees to watch or read to develop themselves personally or professionally. And then the second one is the advancement roadmap, and this basically says that when your seniority level increases in our company, then your tier will change, and the rewards and recognition will come from the tiers, or the ranking will change as well. So, for instance, if you spend 1 to 4 years in our company, you start as a representative, and after 4 years you become a manager and then director, etc., etc. So, knowing these as a structural base or a foundation is good for your employees, because it encourages them to follow the roadmap and become a manager and then a director. So that's one example. Another one, let me give from customer relations, maybe like how to handle complaints, for instance. So we have this basic structure when we get a complaint or a negative feedback from a customer. We first acknowledge the complaint, and then we sincerely apologize. We make things right by offering some options, and then we thank the customer, and we write it down to make sure that we learn from the experience, and we are not gonna make the same mistake again. Or for instance, FIFO, which is first in, first out. If you have a restaurant business or a coffee shop business, for instance, this is relevant to you, because you want to make sure that the products that you especially the perishable products that you first purchase is going to be used first, so that all the products that you purchase are used before their expiration dates. So those kind of things. And one of the handy features of Notion is that if you want any of these processes or guidelines to be easily accessible by you, like if you want them to be in front of your eyes all the time, you, for instance, let's say for the how to handle complaints, you come here and you pin it, which is you add to your favorites, and voila, it shows up under your sidebar. And the benefit of doing this is if you wanna, for instance, under our operations manual or my operations manual, I have how to do due diligence. or how to build a landing page under my favorites sidebar. And that allows me to, rather than coming to a small business operations manual and clicking business systems and processes and then finding it, to read it, I just come here and then I click how to handle complaints, and voila, I have the entire process here. So that is very handy. One thing that I would suggest to keep in mind when you're creating your own business systems and processes is that whenever you hire someone and that person creates a system for you, for your business, definitely document it in writing and include in your manual. And this is for knowledge retention. Because usually what happens is, especially when we are rookie in the business, we hire someone and that person, does a good job, whatever they are supposed to do. But when they leave the company or when we fire them for any reason, they take all the knowledge that they built up in the company. For instance, let's say you hired an SEO guy and that person did a really good job in your business and increased your Google ranking of your website, but then they left the company. If you didn't require them to write down what they had been doing in your business and created a system or an operational guideline during their time in your business, then what's going to happen? When they leave the company, they take all the knowledge with them and you lose everything. But that was the knowledge actually that you paid them for, right? So this is called knowledge retention. So that was the business systems and processes section. And the next section is called owner-only section. And the reason why this section is called owner-only is because obviously there will be some information in your business that shouldn't necessarily be accessible to your employees, such as the hiring process, the firing process, how much you pay yourself, the most valuable customer profile of your business, the business plan, targets, and vision that you have, the local partnerships that you have or you will make, the business contingency plan, so on and so forth. So I'm going to give you, I'm going to go into some of these to show you the example, show you as an example. This term is something that I learned from, I think, Dave Crenshaw, if I remember correctly. So what most valuable customer means is these are the people who are the best fit for your business. And first you write down the top 3 customers that you have. These are either the people who brings you the most money or the people that, or the businesses that you enjoy doing business the most with. And then you identify the demographic of this group of customers, like what are their age, their gender, income, geography, etc. And one thing that I want to clarify here is that this is not to discriminate your customers from one another or based on their gender or income level. This is to, from marketing point of view, you will be focusing all or most of your marketing efforts and marketing budget towards this type of customer profile. So, and then you come up with or you identify the psychographic of that profile, and then you say, okay, based on these results, what are the best places to do marketing for me or invest my marketing budget? For instance, if you identify that most of your most valuable customers spend their time on Instagram as social media, then you say, okay, running ads on Instagram rather than TikTok, for instance, or posting on Instagram rather than Facebook is more valuable for me or make more sense for me. Another section that I can give as an example is business plan and targets section. Because as a business owner, we all have our quarterly, yearly, and monthly plans. And under this section, you create a simple business plan, which you track the performance of some KPIs, key performance indicators, such as cash on hand, net profit, customer acquisition cost, and so on. And you write down the last quarter numbers and you determine the target for this quarter, and you create this business plan on a quarterly basis. The next one is the long-term vision. You write down your annual targets, your 5-year vision, and your 10-year vision. And this last section is in relation to your personal and family goals. And this allows you to track more personal stuff, such as, how many times did you take a vacation this quarter, and what's your target for, last quarter, and what's your target for the current one, and how much time are you spending with your family, because these are the main stuff why we started our business, right? Because we want to take more vacation with our family, or spend more time with our family. So this allows us to track the performance of those KPIs, so that we can improve or take actions to improve those KPIs. So that's about that. The next section is checklists, forms, and how-to guides. And here you put all of your business's spec sheets and all the job aids. And some of these are relevant or applicable to the businesses who have a physical store or warehouse, such as opening and closing checklist, or shift arrival, shift departure checklist. But even those, actually, you can customize or tailor it to your business if you have an online business, for instance. I'm going to show you one as an example. Let's say performance review form. So in this form, basically you're saying to your employees that I will evaluate your performance based on this criteria. And these are, teamwork and quality of your service, honesty, professionalism, the efficiency, cleanliness, and so on and so forth. So having this in front of your employees and including this in your operations manual gives your employees a certainty that their performance won't be, let's say, evaluated based on your personal mood or their personal relationship with you, but on very, concrete criteria. So that is that. And other than that, we have the customer feedback form here. We have the repairs log, which is very important in my opinion if you have a physical store or warehouse. Again, if you want to add any image or video tutorial, such as like you record a Loom or Vimeo for your team in relation to certain subject, and you add them here. Employee onboarding checklist, employee departure checklists, call scripts. If you're doing cold calling, for instance, you include them here. So everything is here and pre-built, ready-made. The next section is emergency procedures. And the thing about emergency procedures is that you don't need them often, but when you need them, you definitely must have them. Otherwise, you may face some drastic consequences. So we have, I think, 5 or 6, basic standard emergency procedures here. And then moving on, the next one is contact details. Under contact details, basically, we are giving a comprehensive list of contacts to our employees, like if they have to know, of course. And this is essential because when you are not available as a business owner, and they need to contact, let's say, maintenance or repair professional, rather than waiting for you to answer the call or get back to them, they can just come here and find the contact detail for the guy, and they can connect to them. Of course, you include here all the ones that are not private or confidential. And we have 6, example sections here: management contact list, employees list, suppliers, insurance provider, local authorities, and maintenance and repair services. So this is essential to ensure that your business is actually keeps running without any hiccups when you are not available. And the next section is the glossary and acronyms sections. And in most of the businesses, we have some acronyms that we are using, such as in my business, lead generation, we say BO, for instance, which stands for business owner. We say DD, which stands for due diligence. We say LP, which stands for landing page, so on and so forth. So in our operations manual, we write all of them down here. And the benefit of having these here in a single repository is that whenever we hire a new guy and the team is emailing each other and they see, let's say, BO, DD, LP in one single email, they don't go crazy. And lastly, we have the test your knowledge section. And the idea behind this section is that when you hire a new team member and you ask them read this manual, you want to make sure that they've actually read it and understood it fully. So, for instance, from our end, we arrange the questions here, the most important things that we want them to know and keep in mind. So even if they kind of skipped that part or didn't give it proper attention, after doing this test and looking for answer for those questions, they definitely remember the answer for those. So this also allows them to do a bit of practice, navigating the manual, because they will use this manual a lot, especially at the beginning. So it's important for them to actually know what is where or which clauses or principle is where. So that's the entire manual section. And the benefits of having a manual in your company or in your business is, as I said, the number one thing is consistency, but also consistent operations improve your business scalability. Because when everything is done in the same way, it's easier to scale your operations. Just like McDonald's, right? They started doing the exact same hamburger every single time, and they documented the process and requirements, and then they franchise it. And the other benefit is accountability. When you make job descriptions and business processes clear and documented, you leave no room for, I didn't know what I was supposed to do, so I did it my way, kind of thing. No room for this. Everything is clear. And it also gives you or brings you less Q&A time and higher efficiency. One of the biggest benefits for us was the less Q&A time, definitely. So we get the work done in less time. This also means like less Zoom calls or Looms or Vimeos. And another big benefit is knowledge retention. Because as you grow your business, you will start hiring people for different areas in your business. Once they leave your company, you are left with nothing. The job was done while they were with you, and they may have done a great work, but you haven't learned or received anything from them for long term, because they came, did the work, and left with all the knowledge they had. And this is called tacit knowledge, actually. It's all the knowledge that exists in a business that isn't written down. You don't want tacit knowledge in your business. You want explicit knowledge, which is the one that is readily articulated, stored, and accessed in your business. And lastly, delegation. Because before an operations manual, it was so hard to delegate, for instance, for us. We had so many training sessions, note-taking, Bloom videos, Slack calls, on and on. But after this, we just say, here's the link, please read it, understand it, and you'll refer to it during your time with us. Easy peasy. And there you have it. This is how we created our operations manual. It started as a PDF document, and then it evolved into Notion. Then we read lots of resources and watched lots of resources to compile the best practices, and we implemented them in our manual. And then we showed it to our other entrepreneurs' friends. They wanted it, then their friends wanted it. So we decided to put it on PayHip and start selling it. And if you would like to buy it as well, I'll post our website link in the description below, and you can buy it there. You can use the discount code of 20 to get a 20% discount on it. And what you will get is a full-fledged manual on Notion. It's a pre-built template, exactly as I showed you, which means under every section and parts, there is already a best practice defined and documented. So you don't have to write things from scratch. You will need to customize it to your business though, I assume, because every business is unique and their operations are different. So probably you will keep some of the policies that are already there and remove some of them and maybe tweak the others to make them suit your business. And don't forget to share the manual with your employees, have them read it and get their feedback on it and edits to it. Because after all, they are the ones who are running the systems that are documented there. So their buy-in is vital. You can also have them write some of the sections, especially the ones that they have the actual operational knowledge on. And if you have any questions about the manual, please send it to me at hello@operationsmenu.com. I will be happy to answer any questions. And that's it for today. Don't miss the deal. It's a limited discount code of 20, and don't forget to use it, and see you in the next video.